Walt Disney's Flowers and Trees, Midwestern Farmers Revolt, and the Great Depression is still very much at large. The year is 1932, and this is what the wealthy bought and drove when the poor couldn't put food on the table. This is a 1932 Cadillac V16 town car, but before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that talks about cars, not the weather. No disrespect, I absolutely love your channel. We cover the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars that are frankly being forgotten. We dive in deep with specs. We talk about the history, design of these rolling works of art. If that sounds like a channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. This Cadillac V16 is not for sale, but guess what? Anybody can see this car at the Canton Auto Museum. If you're ever in Canton and you're looking for something to do, this place is a must-see. There are absolute gems in this museum. Not only do they have a Cadillac V16, they also have a lot of 20s, 30s cars. They had a Simplex there. That's a pretty rare car because it was really expensive. I'm not going to give it all away. So if you want to check this place out, I'm going to link their information in the description below that gives their hours and ticket pricing. So be sure to click the link below after this show. 1932 Cadillac model lineup. They had the V8, the V12, and the V16, also known as Series 355B for the V8, Series 370 for the V12, and Series 452B for the V16. And what those numbers stood for was a roundabout cubic inch displacement. The B, I have no idea what the B signifies. If you know, in the comment section below. Cadillac also had a junior series called LaSalle. For those unfamiliar, GM had a companion make program. It was essentially a junior brand for all the brands except for Chevy got a junior brand. Oakland got Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Viking, Buick, Marquette, Cadillac, LaSalle. LaSalle would be offered by Cadillac from 1927 to 1942. LaSalle was the second longest junior make. Oakland would switch with Pontiac. Pontiac would last the longest. Cadillac offered the V16 or 16 for 10 years. Some sources will say 11 years. It depends on when they started counting or stopped counting. Some people start in 29, some people end in 41. It's weird. 1930 to 1940, it beat the Marmon V16 to market, and Peerless only made 3 prototypes, so this is technically the first mass-produced V16 made in America. Cadillac made the V16 to one-up their arch-rival Packard with their twin 6. But not just Packard, all of the competition had V12s. Pierce Arrow, Lincoln, Franklin. So making a V16 is like a final nail in the coffin as far as the number of cylinders in a passenger car was concerned. Peerless was to build a V16, but they went bankrupt before that could ever become a reality. Marmon did build a more powerful 200 horsepower V16, but I've talked to people that have driven both cars and they say that the Cadillac is the better of the two. The craziest thing to me about this car is this car was sold in some of the worst years of the Great Depression. This car was expensive. It was exclusive. And not only that, money was hard to come by. And because of that, these cars were looked down upon during that time because people were starving in the streets while the rich people were driving around in class. It was a bad look. Cadillac would offer the V16 in 2 generations. 1930 to 1937 falls in the first generation. 1938 to 1940, second generation. 1932 falls in the first generation. Built on the Series 90 D-body platform, could be had as a chassis. And you could have your body custom fabricated by any coach builder of your choice. Factory bodies made either by Fleetwood or Fisher. And there was tons of bodies on offer. You had the Roadster, the Imperial Limo, all-weathered Phaeton, coupe, convertible coupe, standard sedan, town coupe, town sedan, town cabriolet. The list goes on and on. We could literally be here all day just talking about different bodies that the V16 offered. It's worth pointing out the caliber of car this is. Cadillac would build you any body that you wanted, or you could take it to any coach builder and get anything that you wanted, like this Fleetwood Madam X sedan or this Fisher Standard Phaeton. The idea behind the V16 was to leapfrog Packard in a sense. They were able to get Owen Knacker to jump ship from Marmon to come to Cadillac. Owen Knacker, this guy, is not only behind the V16 Cadillac, but also the LaSalle V8, Cadillac V8, Cadillac V12, and the Hydromatic automatic transmission. The list goes on, but just imagine, and I know you're not supposed to ask what if, but what if, just imagine if this guy never left Marmon or went somewhere else also, things could have been totally different. The Cadillac V16 engine is essentially two 8-cylinder overhead valve Buick iron block engines bolted together using a separate aluminum crankcase, 3 separate castings, which means it was really expensive to make. Contrary to popular belief, the extra cylinders wasn't meant for horsepower, but for smoothness. V16 is considered one of the smoothest engines ever produced. The curator, his name's Gary, he said that you could put a dime on its edge while this thing is running. That's how smooth it is. Let's talk specs. 222 inches long, 76.3 inches wide. It rides a wheelbase of 149 inches. Coachwork done by Fisher. It weighs 5,065 pounds. Price around $5,000, which would be equivalent to you spending $111,353.65 in the year 2023. Total 1932 Cadillac was 4,740 units. Series 452/90, which was the V16. Between the years of 1930 to 1937, produced 3,886 units. Total 1932 V16 was 300. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer, 45 degree, 452 cubic inch displacement, overhead valve, V16, 7.4 liters. It makes anywhere between 165, some sources claim as high as 185 horsepower at 3,600 RPM, 320 pound-feet of torque at 1,400 RPM, with a bore of 3 inches and a stroke of 4 inches, compression 536/1, 5 main bearings. It has a valve silencing system which provides for a quieter driving experience. It's backed with a 3-speed synchro mesh transmission, forged steel crankshaft, so they didn't have 0 to 60, but they had 10 to 60, which was achievable in 21.1 seconds. Average fuel consumption is 8 miles to the gallon. Theoretical top speed, 100 miles per hour. 1932 Cadillac V16 chassis. The frame was a huge ladder steel type, rigid axles, brakes, hydraulic brakes on all 4 corners, drums. Options. These cars were built for you and money wasn't an object and was totally customizable to your interests and tastes. So let's talk styling. Just look at everything that is going on with this spectacular car. Look at these bumpers and how they wrap back around. Look at how these fenders are mounted. Notice everything has a chrome finish to it. And everything is doubled. So you got fog lights and or sport lights. These lights can be called a lot of different things. Horns, big, massive lights up here. Beautiful Cadillac V16 badge here in the center. Just look at the negative space or this cutout here. Also notice these are on a bar that is connected to the front axle. Actually, it goes back further than that. It's operated with the steering wheel and it'll turn those lights.
social media. Yeah, I'm just not that.
Look at these marker lights. Look at the pedestal in which it's mounted. This car is just unbelievable. And it's crazy to think that they made this car during the Depression when no one had any money. It's got side mounts with a case. Notice the mirror is mounted to the case itself. Cowl air vent, single piece windshield. Just look at how petite these wipers are. Coming down the side, just look at all of the different lines going on. Nice chrome hinges here. Look at the rear fenders, how they come back. Notice how this part kicks out. Bumpers. This car has 2 brake lights, of course. Beautiful V16 badge there on the trunk rack. This car does have a storage compartment. Probably toolkit would go in there, I would think. Gasoline goes in here. Look at these pipes. I just want to show you how big these running boards are. I wear a size 12 shoe. It doesn't come anywhere near the body in the front. In the back, it almost fits on the running board. Getting inside, but before we do, look at how this door handle is designed. So it has this leather strap, so it doesn't go any further than that. Just notice the door panel. It's got carpet at the bottom. It feels like it might be leather. With the class of car, I would assume it's leather, but notice there isn't an armrest. Door handle to get out, window crank for the big window, and it operates like this. And just look, it's all framed out. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Right here controls the fog lights, sport lights, whatever you want to call them, the ones that are on the bar that turn with the
accessory light.
The accessory lights. This right here controls, watch this, so you can adjust the ride stiffness just by adjusting this, and it's all mechanical. There's a mechanical system that goes to every shock, and it adjusts how stiff you would want the suspension to be. If you want it to be more floaty or more stiff, you can adjust that on the fly in this car. This is the cowl vent. And that opens up this vent outside here to let cold air come down at your feet. Notice the steering wheel shaft. It's all chrome. Emergency brake gear selector. Just take a look at this interior. So we're getting in. I want to show you how hard it is to get in this thing. So I guess you just back up and sit down. And if you have big feet, I guess it's hard. You just... That's it. And this is how much space you have once you're inside of it. It's actually very tight. It's more tight than you would think for the size of this car. But I absolutely love the way the steering wheel is. It's nice, and it reminds me of my 52 Chevy truck, as much as you shouldn't compare those two things. But you could drive it like this. You can just rest your arms and your elbows on this and just drive it, which is super nice. Here is what over the hood looks like. Here is what first person over the hood looks like. This is underneath the steering wheel. There is enough room to put my hand between my lap and the steering wheel, but I will say it's a rather interesting driving position in this car. You sit rather upright, and it's weird. It's one of those things you'd have to be in here to know. On to the button switches and knobs, starting on the left and moving right. Clock, gasoline gauge, ride regulator, coolant temperature, amp meter, oil pressure, speedometer with odometer and tripometer inside of it. Moving back, there are controls on the steering wheel. Throttle at the top. At the bottom, that looks to be spark advance. Lighter. One of these is for headlights. The other one is for wipers. And key. Up above, there isn't any sun visors on either side. There is just a rear view mirror. On to the glove box test. There's our test subject. Here is my hand for reference. Here is the glove box in question. Look at how deep it is. No problem at all. In fact, you can fit I can fit my cell phone in there and it will shut. And it locks, which is a really nice feature. Just on the passenger side door, they have an ashtray that isn't found on the driver's door. Coming to the rear door before getting inside, just notice this door handle. This opens up the opposite or regular way. Just look at how this door is designed with the cutout here for the wheel well. This one doesn't have an armrest on it either. Door handle to get out. Window crank for the big window. Operates like this. And just notice it's all trimmed out, just like the one in the front. Also, notice there aren't any fasteners visible. They are inside here. There are these little metal tabs. Can you see that little metal tab? Those are what hold this on here. There's one there, and it appears to be one there. Very interesting. Very classy how they did that. Take a look at this interior. Tons of room. Got footrest here, which is totally adjustable. Nice lights. Robe rail. Put a heavy blanket on this in the wintertime so you don't get cold. Here is what the front looks like from the back. Let's take a real quick gander at the greenhouse or the pillar-to glass ratio. That's what visibility looks like out the rear. Just look at all of the inner workings of the convertible top. It's all chromed out. And when it gets to here, they have it like lined in felt. These seats are super comfortable. It's like being on a nice... It's weird. It's hard to explain what this feels like. It's not plushy like you would think it would be plushy. It's firm, but it doesn't feel bad. Armrest, which could be secured. This car has a divider, so if you didn't want to listen to the people up front anymore, you could just cut them out of the conversation. Notice it has these, they look like wing windows, but they're really not. It's just to get it to have a more intimate place back here. But they all come out, so you could take this, so if you took the convertible top down and drove this like a Phaeton, these come off and they come way down here. This part here comes off as well, so you didn't have a pillared car. It would look kind of weird. This is what I look like sitting in the back. I got tons of headroom. So the leg room in here is second to none. This is the biggest car that I've ever been in back seat wise. Look at that. That's from my elbow to my index finger. There is probably 2 feet of space between my knee and the back of the front seat. Like I could legitly just put my legs all the way out, all 6'2" of me, and sit back here like I'm the king of the world or something like that. So check this out. Just look at everything that's going on, this beautiful V16 engine. You'll notice it has a single updraft carburetor on this side. Look at the intake, and then right underneath it is the exhaust, and it goes down and out. Air cleaner. It's got one fuel pump. Look at the fan and the shroud, how it's there. It's got dual ignition. It's got a distributor for each bank of cylinders. The curator here at the museum told me that these run, it's like 2 engines in one with a crankshaft. And then up here is where the coil is, up on top of the radiator itself. Coming to the other side, thanks for the light. Coming to the other side, look down here. So look how tight this is, first off. And second off, there's only one belt, and the belt runs the fan at the top, and that's it. Inside this, there's a chain, and it drives the generator. So the shaft comes out of the generator and it goes to the water pump. Just notice on this side, you also have a single updraft carburetor. It looks the same on this side as it does on the other side. The only difference is the generator and the water pump. There was a fuel pump on the other side. Just look at how intricate that is. Overhead valve. On the positive side, pinnacle of what a Victorian era car should be. Elegant, expensive, and exclusive. Super smooth engine, tons of room in the rear, camera fits in the glove box, build quality. And what I mean by that, if you look around this car, and it looks sort of seamless in a sense that you can't see any fasteners. There aren't any fasteners visible on the doors, or you can't even see where the bolts are in the fenders. Against it, rare. Most of these are already spoken for in museums and collections, especially the custom-bodied cars. Expensive then, expensive now. To buy, restore, operate, and run. Finding people that know these are getting few and far between. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have 1932 Pierce Arrow V12, which makes 175 horsepower, or a 1932 Cadillac V16 making 185 horsepower, or a Lincoln Model K V12 making 150 horsepower. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Moving on to the second scenario. 1932 Packard Twin 6 making 160 horsepower, or 1932 Cadillac V16 making 185 horsepower, or 1932 Marmon V16 200 horsepower. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both in the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section below will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. If you don't have Facebook and would like to reach me one-on-one, send me an email. All of that will be linked in the description below. Just know I appreciate all the support. And until next time, toodaloo!